The first snow didn't warn her, neither did the letter on the door. Welcome back to Mr. Charles Stories. If you've ever had to choose peace over love, if you've ever had to walk away not because you stopped caring, but because someone you trusted hid the truth, then this story is yours. Stay with us, because what's buried in silence sometimes comes home with the snow. The snow started falling on the evening of December 23rd. Chicago's streets softened under the weight of it. The noise of the city disappeared beneath white stillness. And inside her small one-bedroom apartment above a florist shop, Serene Alder made a cup of tea, completely unaware that outside her door, the past had just arrived. She opened it not to a person, but to paper. Taped to the old green paint was a letter. No stamp, no return address, just a single line on the front. I never stopped looking. Her hands trembled before she peeled it off. Inside the envelope, a photo. A man, no tie, no gloss, just a navy blue shirt, dark slacks and a face, older than she remembered, standing next to a school board in Kansas. The name came back like a sharp wind. Jordan. Serene's breath caught. She hadn't said that name out loud in 6 years. Not since she left him. Not since she discovered the kind of lie that doesn't just break trust, it shatters it. Not since she walked away without telling him she was pregnant. That night, she sat on the cold floor beside her daughter's tiny sneakers. Noelle, now 5, was fast asleep in her bed, surrounded by books, paper snowflakes, and the sweet smell of lavender. Serene pressed the photo to her chest and closed her eyes. She remembered how it began. It was a September fundraiser, a packed community center. Serene worked at the drink station. She wore a black t-shirt with the non-profit's logo on it and kept her head down, mixing lemonade, handing out water, smiling politely. And then he walked in, not flashy, no entourage, but unmistakably someone important. Jordan Reeves. He was already a known name in Chicago's elite circles, a billionaire who had started young, buying up abandoned properties in forgotten neighborhoods, flipping them into smart campuses and innovation hubs. But he didn't give interviews, didn't show up at charity events for cameras. Which is why it was strange he was there, until he explained why. My mother cleaned floors at one of the schools this program saved. I'm here because she never got to see what her night shifts built. And he stayed, long after the speeches, long after the handshakes. He grabbed a mop and cleaned the floors with Serene, then handed her water and said, "Thank you," like she'd saved him. By November, he was always around. They met at parks, walked in quiet neighborhoods, ate at hole-in-the-wall diners where no one recognized him. With Serene, he could be normal. And she was sharp, grounded. She didn't care about his board seats or billions. She cared about the way he asked questions, the way he stayed to mop floors, the way he looked at her like she was peace. By Christmas, they were in love. By February, she was pregnant. By April, she was gone. She didn't leave because of the money. She left because he lied. Jordan told her about everything in his business life, except one critical detail. He was engaged, not in love, not romantically, but by contract. He had agreed to marry the daughter of a Dubai-based investor as part of a billion-dollar real estate merger. The deal would cement his empire across 2 continents. It required a marriage of convenience, a family front. He didn't tell Serene because he thought she wouldn't understand, but she did, too well. If I can't be in your real life, I won't be in your secret one. She left without a fight, without asking for anything, without telling him she was carrying his child. In Kansas, Serene rebuilt from nothing. She worked retail jobs, waitressed, took online courses, did freelance admin for non-profits. She moved cautiously, changed her name on paper, though not legally. She built a life so quiet, not even fate could knock. She gave birth during a winter storm. The hospital had lost power. Noelle was born by flashlight. Serene named her after the storm, because like snow, she came without warning but filled the world with silence and beauty. Noelle had Jordan's eyes, steel grey, watchful. She asked questions even when she didn't speak, and Serene always answered what she could. "Where's my daddy? He was someone I used to know. Will I meet him one day? Maybe. When the snow brings him back. Noelle liked that answer. She always believed snow brought stories. Now, sitting beside that letter, Serene wondered if her words had come true. The note below the photo was simple. I'm not here for a fight. I'm here for her birthday. Tell me where. Or don't. But I'm staying until the snow stops. She stared out the window. Snow kept falling. She couldn't sleep that night. Not because of fear. Because of memory. Serene laid in bed with the photo beside her, her lamp still on, casting a soft glow across the room. The face in the image, Jordan's, was older, yes, but still familiar. Still clean-shaven. Still calm. Still him. But what shocked her wasn't that he had found her. It was that he had stayed silent for 6 years, and then chose now. 6 years ago, she had loved him with everything. Back then, Jordan Reeves wasn't just another billionaire. He was a quiet giant in the real estate space, a man who had built schools, hospitals, tech parks, but kept his private life sealed. With her, though, there had been no armor. He laughed. He listened. He helped her cook. He held her through thunderstorms. And when Serene told him about her dream of starting an education non-profit one day, he didn't say, "You're cute." He said, "What's the first step?" But love had limits, and trust had rules, and when she found out about his arranged engagement, accidentally through a meeting transcript left open on his tablet, everything cracked. She didn't confront him right away. She waited, gave him chances, hinted, asked quiet questions like, "Would you ever do something for business that you couldn't undo?" He dodged. He always dodged. Until one morning, she looked him in the eye and asked, "Is there someone else?" Jordan hesitated, then lied. "No, there's no one else." That was the last time they spoke. The snow was still falling by sunrise. Serene stayed up all night. She packed Noelle's small red backpack for preschool, peanut butter sandwich, snow boots, 2 books. Then she sat at the table, staring at the envelope again. The last line haunted her. "I'm staying until the snow stops." What did he expect? A reunion? A second chance? She had built a world without him, raised a daughter who didn't know his name. He didn't get to just show up because the weather matched the season she left him in. And yet, she hadn't thrown the letter away. She hadn't burned the photo. She hadn't slammed the door. She had sat and listened and remembered. By mid-morning, the sun peeked through grey clouds. Serene dropped Noelle off at her small preschool, hugged her extra tightly, then walked into the nearest diner. Her mind raced. And then she saw him, Jordan Reeves, in person. He sat in a back booth, alone. No security, no assistant, just him. A coat slung over the seat, a half-finished coffee in front of him, and eyes that locked on hers the moment she stepped in. He didn't rise, didn't smile, just waited. Serene approached slowly, unsure whether to scream or cry. "You look tired," she said quietly. "I haven't slept," Jordan replied. "Not much since I got your address." "Who gave it to you?" "A non-profit database." "You signed a donor thank you letter with your old handwriting." Serene swallowed hard. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I know. You have no right to her." "I know. And yet, you're here." Jordan nodded. "Because I saw a photo of a little girl in a school newsletter, and she had my mother's eyes. I didn't know if it was real, but it felt like something I couldn't ignore." Serene's fingers clenched around the strap of her purse. "You didn't come for me." "No," he said. "I came for her. But if I had to see you again to meet her, I took that chance." He slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a small charm bracelet. Tiny silver letters, N-O-E-L-L-E. "I bought it 5 years ago," he said. "For someone. I didn't know who yet. Just someone." Serene felt the breath rush out of her. She left the diner without another word. Later that day, at the town square's holiday festival, Noelle tugged on her coat and pointed. "Mom, that man is crying." Serene followed her daughter's eyes. And there he was, standing across the square, coat collar up, eyes locked on them both. Jordan didn't move, didn't speak, didn't beg. He just waited. Serene looked down at Noelle. She deserved answers. She deserved peace. And maybe, just maybe, she deserved to meet the part of her story Serene had tried to erase. She took her daughter's hand and walked toward him. Jordan looked down at Noelle, knelt without touching her, and said, "My name is Jordan. I once loved someone so much I lost her because I was afraid. And I think, maybe, I've found her again." Noelle looked at Serene. "Is this him?" Serene nodded slowly. Noelle tilted her head, then asked softly, "Do you want cocoa? Have you ever walked away from someone, not because you stopped loving them, but because they hid something you couldn't accept? Or maybe you've been on the other side, searching for a second chance. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Someone might need your story tonight. And if you believe the past can return with grace, like, share, subscribe. You're watching Mr. Charles Stories, where every love comes with a lesson. The town square glowed under strings of soft lights and snow-draped trees. Children ran in wool hats, pulling sleds, giggling past hot cocoa stands. A choir near the fountain sang old carols that stirred something quiet in Serene's chest. Noelle gripped her hand, cheeks red from the cold, breath puffing clouds into the air. "Mama," she whispered, "this is the best night." Serene forced a smile. "It's beautiful, huh?" They stood near the cookie booth, waiting in line for peppermint gingerbread. Noelle bounced lightly on her toes. Serene kept scanning the crowd, even though she told herself she wouldn't. Then Noelle froze, eyes locked ahead, hand tightening in Serene's. "Mom," she said, "that man is crying." Serene turned slowly. There, across the square, just beyond the choir, stood Jordan. No coat zipped, no hat, just him, hands in his coat pockets, staring at them like he was seeing a ghost. Snow fell gently onto his shoulders, melting into his dark hair. He didn't move, didn't wave, didn't speak. He looked straight at Serene first, then down at Noelle, and then his eyes filled. Not the kind of tears meant to win sympathy. These weren't theatrical. They didn't ask for forgiveness. They just fell. The kind you can't stop even when no one's watching. Serene's feet stayed planted. Her mind spun. This man, the man she had once trusted with her future, was now silently breaking in front of her 5-year-old daughter. And somehow, she didn't hate him in that moment. She didn't trust him either. But she saw something in his face she hadn't seen back then. Loss, real loss. Not of a deal, not of an investment, of time, of memory, of what could have been. Noelle tugged at her hand again. "Is he sad?" Serene's throat tightened. "Yes, I think so." "Do you know him?" She hesitated. "Yes, I do." Noelle looked up, curious. "Is he someone from before I was born?" Serene knelt down and tucked a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. "Yes, baby. He was someone I knew before you came, someone I haven't seen in a long time." Noelle nodded slowly, then said, "Maybe he needs a cookie too." Jordan still didn't move. He stood like a statue of regret, breathing slowly, bracing for Serene to walk away, for her to turn her back, for her to disappear again. But she didn't. She took Noelle's hand and walked toward him, step by step, carefully, like crossing ice that might crack beneath you. The space between them shrank. Serene stopped a few feet away. Noelle tucked behind her coat. "I told you nothing," Serene said quietly, her voice sharp but controlled. "You didn't need to," Jordan replied. He dropped to one knee, not out of apology, but to match Noelle's height. His voice softened. "I'm Jordan," he said. "I once loved someone so much I lost her because I was afraid. And I think, maybe, I've found her again." Noelle peeked at her mom. "Is this him?" Serene nodded. Jordan didn't reach out, didn't push. He let the silence hang. Then Noelle stepped forward. "Do you want cocoa?" Jordan blinked fast. A laugh escaped. Small, real. I'd love some. They walked through the square together. 3 people who didn't look like a family yet, but moved like one. And beneath the falling snow, with music in the background, something started to shift, not loudly, not all at once, but gently, like snow. The cocoa stand smelled like cinnamon and pine. Noelle clutched 2 steaming cups, cheeks flushed with joy, while Serene, Paige and Jordan stood beside them, still quiet, still hesitant. Serene handed him one of the cups. Their fingers didn't touch. "Thanks," he said, voice low. They found a bench near the edge of the square. Snow clung to the wood. Jordan wiped it down with his glove and waited for Serene to sit first. She didn't. Instead, she nodded toward the bench and said, "Go ahead." He sat. Noelle slid beside him like she'd known him forever. Serene stayed standing, watching. Noelle sipped her cocoa with a straw and looked up at him. "Where are you from?" "Chicago," he said. "But I've been in Kansas for the last few weeks." "Why?" Jordan looked at Serene, then back at the child. "Because I thought someone important might live here." Noelle beamed. "Like me?" He smiled. "Exactly like you." Serene's arms crossed over her chest. "How long are you staying?" she asked, keeping her distance. Jordan didn't pretend to misunderstand her tone. "I said I'd stay until the snow stops. And after that, I'll leave. If that's what you want, and if it's not snowing in Chicago, then I'll stay here." He looked at her. "But I'm not here to chase you." "Then, what are you here for?" Jordan set his cocoa down and leaned forward. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not asking for anything tonight. I just wanted to see her. On her birthday. Once." Noelle looked up. "How do you know my birthday?" Jordan glanced at Serene, who gave nothing away. "I didn't," he said honestly. "But I guessed. You're 5, right? And I saw the flyer about the town's Christmas Eve celebration for kids. I took a chance." Noelle nodded thoughtfully, as if approving his answer. Serene finally sat down. Not close, but near enough to feel the heat of his regret. "You left me out there to fall apart alone," she said softly. "I know. You could have told me the truth. I know. You chose business over love. I did." He didn't flinch, "and I paid for it." Serene let the silence stretch. The square buzzed in the background. Music, families, laughter, but all of it felt distant. In this moment, it was just them. Her, him, and the child who unknowingly tied them together. Jordan looked at Noelle again. "She's perfect." "She's human," Serene replied. "Not an ornament for redemption. I'm not asking her to save me." "Good, because she won't." Noelle tilted her head. "Are you two mad at each other?" Serene looked down at her daughter. "No. We're figuring things out," Jordan added gently. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, and it takes time to clean them up." Noelle nodded. "Like spilled juice." Serene cracked a smile. "Exactly." They stayed there for a long while. Noelle eventually started nodding off, cocoa cup slipping in her mittens. Serene reached for her, lifting the sleepy girl into her arms. "I should get her home," she said. Jordan stood. "Can I walk with you?" Serene looked at him. The snow hadn't stopped, but something else had. Her rage, her fear, her certainty. "Just the walk," she said. He nodded once. Just the walk. The streets were quiet as they strolled back to the apartment. Noelle dozed in her mother's arms, wrapped in her favorite purple coat. Jordan walked a few steps behind them, not crowding. When they reached her building, Serene paused at the entrance. "I'm not inviting you in." "I know." She shifted her daughter in her arms. "But I'm also not telling you to leave town." Jordan looked up at her. "That means something." She didn't answer. "Thank you," he said. Serene opened the door, stepped inside, and turned back. "I haven't forgiven you. I'm not asking for that, but you should know." She stopped, voice softer now. "She doesn't know who you were. Don't make her regret who you are." Jordan nodded. "I won't." Then she shut the door. Upstairs, Serene laid Noelle in bed. The girl curled up instantly, thumb near her cheek, clutching a plush rabbit. Serene sat by the window afterward, watching the snow fall in thick waves. A quiet knock came at the door. She opened it. Jordan stood there, holding something. A wrapped box. Simple. Blue ribbon. For her, he said. Not for you. Not for me. Serene accepted it. She'll open it in the morning. I hope she smiles. He turned to go. Then she said softly, Jordan. He looked back. The snow hasn't stopped. He smiled. Then I guess I'll stay. The apartment was small but warm. A tiny artificial Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with silver paper stars and a string of red yarn. The scent of cinnamon still clung to the air from a candle Serene had lit earlier. The space was quiet, so quiet Jordan could hear the hum of the radiator and the ticking of the small wall clock above the kitchen counter. He stood at the door, eyes adjusting to the dim light. He didn't step forward. Serene motioned to the couch. You can sit. Just don't touch anything. He nodded. Of course. She set the gift box he had brought on the counter, unwrapped it carefully, and peeked inside. A children's book. Hardcover. Vintage. The Snowy Day. Serene closed the lid without a word and placed it beside Noelle's other wrapped gifts. Noelle rubbed her eyes as she wandered out of her room in her footed pajamas. Her voice was still sleepy. Mama, I'm hungry. Serene moved quickly, gently guiding her toward the kitchen. I'll fix something. You want your usual? Noelle nodded, then noticed Jordan. She stopped mid-step. You stayed. I did, he said quietly. Are you going to have dinner with us? He looked at Serene. She sighed. Sure, why not? I was just making pasta. Dinner was simple. Boxed spaghetti, store-bought sauce, a bowl of green peas, and cookies from the bakery down the street. It wasn't fancy, but the table felt full. Noelle sat between them, humming to herself as she twisted her noodles. Jordan tried not to stare too long, but every time he looked at her, her small hands, her button nose, the way she tilted, her head when she spoke, it felt like watching his own past blend into the present. She looked like Serene, mostly, but her eyes, his mother's, steel grey and sharp. What do you do now? Noelle asked him mid-bite. I work with schools, Jordan said. I help them get buildings and money and books. Like Ma? Jordan glanced at Serene, a small smile creeping in. Kind of, but your mama does the hard part. Serene rolled her eyes. Jordan leaned forward. You like reading? I read 3 whole books last week. Wow. Do you have a favorite? Noelle nodded, then got up and ran into her room. She came back with a tattered copy of Corduroy and placed it in Jordan's hands like it was sacred. He opened it. Inside, the cover had Noelle's name written in big red letters. Below it, my favorite story, because he got found. Jordan's hands tightened around the book. Serene noticed. Her voice softened. She always picks that one. Jordan swallowed hard. I would too. After dinner, Noelle sat cross-legged on the rug and played with her puzzles while Serene cleaned up. Jordan offered to help, but she waved him off. You don't know where anything is. I can learn. You don't need to. Still, he stood beside her anyway. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. She didn't answer at first. Then, without looking at him, because I didn't want to be a woman begging a man to stay. He flinched. Serene turned to him. You think I left because of the engagement. But it wasn't just that. You looked me in the eye and lied. You didn't trust me with your truth. I was scared, he admitted. Then you didn't know me at all. Jordan dried a dish, his movements slow and deliberate. I've thought about this conversation for years, but now that we're here, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Then say nothing. Just be present. I can do that. On the couch, Noelle yawned. Serene picked her up, resting the girl's head on her shoulder. I'll put her to bed. Jordan nodded. Can I say good night? Serene paused. You may. He stepped closer. Noelle looked up at him through sleepy lashes. You'll still be here tomorrow? She asked. If your mom says yes. Serene didn't speak, but she didn't object either. Noelle smiled. Okay. Night-night, Jordan whispered. Good night, Noelle. Serene returned a few minutes later, arms crossed, leaning against the hallway doorframe. She'll be asleep in minutes. Jordan stood near the window now, hands in his pockets, watching the snow continue to fall in quiet sheets across the street lamp's glow. This town is peaceful, he said. I chose it for that reason. I can see why. He turned to face her. You built a beautiful life for her. I built a safe life. Jordan nodded. She deserves safe, but she also deserves full. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. No music, no TV, just the heater buzzing and the soft wind against the windows. Jordan leaned his head back. I should have told you everything, even if it would have ruined us. You didn't deserve a half-truth. Serene stared ahead. You didn't trust me to love you past your ambition. I do now. Now is late. I know. She stood. I'm going to bed. Jordan stood too. I'll head out. She walked to the door and opened it, then paused. I didn't say go. He blinked. I meant, the couch is clean. If you want to stay just until morning. He nodded slowly. Thank you. No promises, Jordan. I know. She walked back to her room without looking back. Jordan laid on the couch, still in his shirt and jeans. He didn't sleep. He just stared at the ceiling, listening to every small sound. The creak of the radiator, the wind outside, the memory of Serene's voice. He had a chance, not to be forgiven, but to be present. And that was enough, for tonight. The couch didn't offer much comfort, but Jordan didn't expect it to. He lay flat, hands clasped on his chest, staring up at the cracked ceiling. The room was dark now, except for a small night light coming from Noelle's room down the hall. The house creaked like old wood often did, settling, whispering, remembering. He had forgotten what silence like this felt like. Not empty, not cold, just full of all the things no one was saying. The door creaked open behind him. He didn't sit up, but he turned his head. Serene walked in wearing an oversized sweatshirt and wool socks, her arms folded. Her hair was down now, untied, falling softly over her shoulders. She didn't speak right away. Then she whispered, "You're still awake?" Jordan nodded. "I don't sleep much these days." She sat in the armchair across from him. "I shouldn't have let you stay. I would have left if you asked. I almost did, but you didn't." Silence again. Then, "You have 5 minutes," Serene said, "to speak. Then I'm going back to bed." Jordan slowly sat up. He didn't rush. He didn't plead. His voice was calm, worn. "I told them I couldn't do it." She blinked. "What?" "I walked away from the merger. A month after you left." Serene stared. "That deal was worth half your company." "I know. Your board threatened to push you out if you didn't go through with it." "I know." She narrowed her eyes. "Why?" Jordan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Because for the first time in my life, I saw what success would cost. I had the penthouse, the press, the investment, but I didn't have peace. And I didn't have you." He paused. "I kept picturing you, your face when you found out, not angry, not screaming, just disappointed, like I had made myself small to gain something big." Serene stayed quiet. "I spent 6 years trying to undo it all," he continued. "But undoing a lie doesn't bring back trust. It only shows you regret ever needing to lie in the first place." He looked up at her now. "I didn't come back expecting you to forgive me. I came back because I saw her photo. I don't know how, I don't know who posted it. But it was her, Noelle, her eyes, that face, and it nearly brought me to my knees." Serene took a breath, measured, deep. "Why didn't you try to find me before now?" "I did. Not hard enough." "You're right." She stood again, arms still folded. "You had money, lawyers, access, power. You could have tracked down anyone. I wanted to. But something told me not to." "What stopped you?" Jordan looked up at her. eyes soft. Because I didn't deserve her. Not yet. Serene's throat tightened. She didn't want to feel sympathy. Didn't want to remember the nights she cried herself to sleep, wondering if he would come. But truth is louder than excuses, and he wasn't offering excuses, only honesty. You said you're not asking me to forgive you, she said. I'm not. Then what are you asking for? Jordan looked her straight in the eye. Time. For what? To prove I can be better in the spaces you created without me. Serene clenched her jaw. You don't get to walk back in and fit where you didn't help build. I know. That's why I'm not trying to fit. I'm offering to be present, quietly, patiently, even if from a distance. She turned away from him, walked toward the window. Snow still fell, thicker now, the street almost fully covered. She stared out for a long time. You gave up $1 billion deal, she said finally, to come back here. Yes. And you're telling me this 6 years later? Yes. Why? Because I didn't want to come back with a clean suit and a rehearsed apology. I wanted to come back with proof, and I have none, except that I stayed tonight. She turned back to face him. Her voice cracked slightly. I didn't walk away because you lied. Jordan looked at her, still. She stepped closer. I walked away because you didn't trust me to stay if you told the truth. That hit him harder than anything she could have screamed. And she saw it. The way his shoulders sank, the way his eyes dropped, the way his breathing paused. He said nothing. She didn't need him to. I'm going to bed now, she said. He nodded. Sleep well, Serene. She walked to the hallway, paused, then looked over her shoulder. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Jordan's voice barely rose above a whisper. I know. Noelle will want you here for breakfast. His brows raised. Are you sure? I'm not. But she is. Then she walked away, into the shadows of the hallway. Jordan sat back on the couch, blinking at the ceiling again. But this time, his chest felt just a little lighter. Not because he was forgiven, but because he had finally told the truth. The morning came quietly. Noelle was the first to stir. She yawned, stretched like a kitten, and tiptoed down the hall, dragging her plush bunny by one ear. She peeked into the living room and stopped. There, on the couch, lay Jordan. He was still asleep, one arm draped over his chest, his other resting. Off the edge, fingers twitching slightly as if caught in a dream. A thin blanket covered him, clearly too short for his height. Noelle crept closer, studying him. She didn't know why, but she smiled, then ran to her mom's room. Mama, he's still here. Serene opened one eye. What time is it? Not late. Can I make hot chocolate? Serene rubbed her face. Brush your teeth first. I already did. Serene sat up slowly, hair wild, heart quietly racing. She hadn't expected to sleep so well, with him in the house. But the silence last night had been different. Not empty, not dangerous. Just quiet. She got out of bed, pulled on a robe, and followed Noelle into the kitchen. The apartment filled with the scent of cocoa and toast. Noelle stood on her stool, pouring chocolate powder into a mug while Serene scrambled eggs on the stove. The heater hummed. Music played softly on the radio. It was Christmas Eve, and for once nothing felt heavy. Jordan stirred awake to the sound of laughter and spoons clinking. He sat up slowly, blinking at the sunlight streaming through the blinds. And then he saw it. 2 stockings hung from the wall heater. One red, one blue. Noelle's name was stitched on one. The other, blank, but clearly new. Jordan stood, eyes locked on the second stocking. Serene appeared behind him, holding 2 mugs. She made that one last night, she said casually. Said the couch guy needed one. He smiled. The couch guy? She's 5. That's how her brain works. I'll take it. They sat at the small dining table again. This time, it wasn't awkward. Noelle spoke the entire time. About her Christmas play, about the glitter in her backpack, about how her friend Bia's dad looked like a bear. Jordan listened to every word like it was gold. He asked questions, made faces, laughed at all the right places. Serene watched. He hadn't asked for redemption, but in the span of one meal he was earning something different. Presents. After breakfast, Noelle dashed into her room to find a coloring book. Jordan stood to help clear the table, but Serene stopped him. "You don't have to do that." "I know." He picked up a plate anyway. "Why'd you stay last night?" she asked. Jordan rinsed the dishes. "Because the snow didn't stop." "That's the only reason." He glanced at her. "It was the only excuse I had." They stood in the small kitchen, just a few inches apart. "Last night," she said, drying a spoon, "you said something. That you want to be better in the spaces I built without you." He nodded. "Then start by not making promises you can't keep." Jordan placed the last dish on the rack. "I won't." Noelle returned, wearing a superhero cape made from an old towel and holding 3 coloring books. She pointed at the floor. "You sit here," she told Jordan. He got on the floor without hesitation, crossed his legs, chose a green crayon. Serene leaned against the wall, arms folded, watching them color together. Noelle was chatty. Jordan was patient. She kept handing him the wrong colors on purpose. He pretended to get frustrated. She giggled every time. The scene was too normal, too gentle. It stirred something deep in Serene's chest. At noon, Serene stepped outside to check on a neighbor. When she returned, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. She peeked into Noelle's room. Her daughter was curled up on the bed, fast asleep. Jordan sat beside her, not on the bed, but on the floor, back against the wall, one hand on his lap, the other resting gently on the floor near Noelle's hand. He didn't notice Serene watching, and she didn't say a word. She just stood there, still, realizing that maybe, not definitely, but maybe, he meant every word. Serene didn't move for a while. She stayed near the hallway, watching the stillness in her daughter's room. Noelle breathed softly under her blanket, tiny fingers tucked beneath her cheek. And next to her, Jordan sat unmoving, still on the floor, head tilted slightly, back, eyes closed, not asleep, but somewhere far away in thought. It didn't look like a man playing the part of a father. It looked like a man feeling the part, and not knowing if he had permission to hold it. That did something to her. Not forgiveness, not forgetting, but something closer to the crack before the thaw. She cleared her throat gently. Jordan opened his eyes. "Come out," she whispered. "Let her sleep." He stood slowly, stretching his back. "She's a tornado. In a good way. She gets that from my side." "I believe it." They stepped into the hallway. Serene closed the door behind them. For a moment, neither said anything. Jordan broke the quiet. "You were right. About. Safe doesn't mean small. What you built here, it's peaceful." Serene nodded. "That's all I ever wanted." They sat at the kitchen table again. Noelle's coloring books still scattered across the surface. The sun was already dipping low. Christmas lights blinked faintly on the windowsill. Serene made tea for herself and handed Jordan the leftover cocoa. It was lukewarm, but he didn't mind. He took a sip. "You always liked quiet afternoons. They're the best kind." "I never understood that. Back then, I was chasing noise. Deals, calls, boardrooms. And now." He met her eyes. "Now I'd trade all of it for mornings like today." Serene leaned back in her chair. "You're good with her. I wasn't sure I would be." "She makes it easy." He smiled. "She makes everything seem new." Serene hesitated, then said, "You scared me, Jordan. Not just the lie, the scale of it, the way you could justify it like it was survival." He nodded slowly. "I know. You didn't protect what mattered. You protected your position. And I lost both." A long pause. Then Serene asked, "Why didn't you marry her?" Jordan's gaze didn't shift. "Because when you left, I realized the deal wasn't worth a version of me I couldn't live with. You had everything on the line. And none of it mattered when I realized I'd already lost the only person who ever looked at me like I was just a man, not a machine, not a strategy." He lowered his voice. "You called me Jordan. Everyone else calls me Reeves, or Sir, or Boss. Serene studied him. "I don't think I've called you that in years." I'd forgotten how good it sounded. The air changed. Still, not romantic, not yet, but charged, with the weight of history, with what could have been, with what maybe still could be. Later that afternoon, Serene pulled out a puzzle set for Noelle and Jordan to work on while she prepared dinner. She cooked in the small kitchen, listening as Noelle barked orders like a tiny general. "No, that piece goes there. You're not very good at this, couch guy." Jordan played along. "Well, I'm only good at buying buildings, not building princess castles." Serene stifled a laugh from the kitchen. They ate dinner on the couch that night. Chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes, Noelle's favorite. She insisted on a picnic blanket setup. Jordan didn't complain. "In fact," he said, "this is the best boardroom I've ever sat in." Noelle grinned and asked, "What's a boardroom?" Jordan replied, "Where people talk a lot and forget to smile." She wrinkled her nose. "Boring." "Exactly." After dinner, Serene tucked Noelle in again. Tonight, her daughter asked something new. "Will he be here tomorrow?" Serene smoothed her hair. "Do you want him to be?" "Yes." "Why?" Noelle whispered. "Because you smiled more today." Serene blinked. "Good night, Mama." Back in the living room, Jordan stood by the window again, sipping water. "I shouldn't overstay," he said gently. Serene folded her arms. "You're not pushing. I don't want to. You're just here." "Yes." She nodded once. "You can stay tonight." Same rules. No expectations. No assumptions. He set the glass down. "Thank you." As she turned to go, Serene paused in the hallway. "One day," she said without turning, "you'll need to explain to her why you weren't there." "I know. She'll ask hard questions." "I'm ready." Serene finally looked back. "Don't answer them with guilt. Answer with growth." Jordan nodded once. "I will." That night, as she lay in bed, Serene finally let the tears fall. Not for pain, for peace. The kind that comes slowly. One morning, one puzzle, one stocking at a time. The next morning started like the one before. Simple, quiet, warm. But something had shifted, not in what was said, but in what didn't need saying. Jordan woke early and folded the couch blanket neatly. He didn't linger. He didn't act like he belonged. He simply made coffee, quietly, and waited. Serene emerged not long after, robe wrapped around her, hair tied loosely. "Morning," she said, softer than she expected. "Morning," he echoed. Noelle burst out of her room with unmatched energy. "It's Christmas Eve." Jordan smiled. "I heard someone say you might be in charge of pancakes today." "I am. I'm the holiday boss." Serene handed her an apron. "Then go rule the kitchen, boss." The day passed slowly, like time had stretched itself just for them. They baked, colored, played a board game with half the pieces missing. Jordan read corduroy for the 4th time, pretending to be different voices for each character. Noelle thought he was hilarious. At one point, Serene stepped into the bedroom to get something and came back, out to find the two of them on the floor, surrounded by pillows and crayons. And in that moment, it hit her like a quiet bell. They looked complete, like a picture she'd never allowed herself to imagine. That afternoon, while Jordan and Noelle built a cardboard snowman, Serene pulled down a small box from the top shelf of her closet. It was dusty, untouched for years. Inside were photographs, some printed, some Polaroid, some old screenshots, memories she'd sealed away. She sat on the bed and began sorting through them. Her graduation, her old apartment in Chicago, photos of her and Jordan, laughing at a food truck, standing in front of a bookstore, holding takeout containers. Then, more recent ones, Noelle in her baby blanket, Noelle's first birthday, first steps, first day of preschool, all moments he had missed. Not because of accident, because of choice. "What you doing?" Noelle's voice broke the silence. Serene looked up. Her daughter stood at the door, hands behind her back, just looking through old photos. Can I see? Serene hesitated, then nodded. Come here. They sat together, flipping through images. Who's that? Noelle asked, pointing at a photo of Jordan in a hoodie, holding up a burnt pizza in a tiny apartment kitchen. Serene smiled. That's him. That's your dad. Noelle blinked. He made pizza? A very bad one. Noelle giggled. You look happy. I was. Jordan appeared in the doorway, not intruding. He paused when he saw the box in Serene's lap. She looked up. Their eyes met. She didn't close it, didn't hide it. She held up the photo of the pizza. Remember this? Jordan stepped in, laughing. I nearly set your smoke alarm off. You said you followed the recipe. I did. It just forgot to say, don't walk away for 20 minutes. Serene handed the photo to Noelle. Your dad used to try and cook. He was terrible. Noelle looked at him. Can you still cook bad now? Jordan knelt beside her. Worse. She laughed and handed him the picture. Keep it. They went through the rest of the photos together. Noelle asked about everything. Where was this? Who was that? Why was Mom wearing that weird hat? And Serene answered honestly, even the hard ones. This was me, after I had you. You looked tired. I was. Did he come to the hospital? Serene looked at Jordan. No, she said gently. He didn't know you were born yet. Noelle tilted her head. Why not? Jordan took a slow breath. Because I made a mistake. One I'll always be sorry for. Noelle looked at her mom. Is that why we didn't have two people at all my birthdays? Serene nodded. There was no crying, no drama, just honesty, wrapped in love. And Noelle, wise as ever, accepted it all with more grace than most adults. She took a photo of Serene holding baby Noelle and placed it gently in Jordan's hand. You missed a lot, she said. I did, he whispered. Don't miss next time. He looked at Serene. Serene didn't speak, but she didn't look away. Later, while Noelle napped again, worn out from all the sugar and stories, Serene and Jordan sat on the balcony, sipping tea under thick blankets. The snow had slowed. The streets were coated white, untouched. She'll remember this, Serene said softly. I hope she does, not because you were perfect, but because you showed up. Jordan didn't respond right away, then said, That's all I want now, just to show up, to earn being here. Serene nodded once. You're not forgiven, she said again, but softer this time. I'm still here, he replied. And that night, while Noelle slept, she taped one of the photos to the fridge, the three of them, coloring on the floor. Above it, in her handwriting, almost family. It was nearly midnight when Serene turned off the living room lights and checked the door one last time. Jordan was already on the couch again, a blanket over his legs, a book open in his lap. Noelle had gone down easy after hours of excitement, sugar, and emotional stories. Serene stood in the doorway for a second, holding a cup of water. You good? She asked quietly. Jordan looked up. Better than I've been in years. She nodded. She really likes you. She's special. She's 5. He smiled. That too. Serene crossed the room and handed him the water. She's been drawing something in secret the past few days, she said. Oh yeah? Usually, I find her curled up in the corner with markers and whispering to herself. I think she's making a book. She's got your focus. And your stubbornness. Jordan laughed, then lowered his voice. She asked me earlier if I was staying forever. Serene's face softened. What did you say? I told her that depends on what her mom wants. Serene didn't answer that. Instead, she headed for the hall, paused at her door, and glanced back. Good night, Jordan. Good night, Serene. Christmas morning arrived with the sound of paper rustling and feet shuffling on hardwood. Noelle was already in the living room when Serene opened her eyes. She'd dragged every gift into a pile and was inspecting names like a miniature secretary. Mama, she called. He's still here. Serene sat up, groggy. I figured. He's making breakfast. Serene raised a brow. Is the kitchen on fire? Nope. He said he watched a video this time. Jordan had, in fact, made scrambled eggs and toast, and only burned the first round. The three of them ate together while the lights blinked gently on the mini-tree. Then Noelle disappeared into her room. When she returned, she held a single folded paper in her hand. "This is my Christmas present," she said, "but it's not for me." She handed it to Serene. Serene opened it carefully. Inside, a drawing, crude but sweet, of 3 stick figures. One had long brown hair. One had grey dots for eyes. One was short and wore a purple dress. Beneath them, in big red letters, "My Christmas Family." Serene's hand went to her mouth. Jordan leaned over her shoulder, reading silently. "She made that 2 days ago," Serene whispered, "before she knew what would happen." Noelle stood proudly. "I made 2 copies. You can both keep one." Jordan's voice was rough. "Thank you." Noelle beamed. "It's okay if you cry. It's Christmas." He did. Quietly. No drama. Just full. They opened gifts after that. Nothing expensive. Nothing showy. But everything meaningful. Serene gave Jordan a photo in a small frame, one of the pictures from yesterday, him and Noelle coloring on the floor. "I thought you should have this," she said, "to remind you what showing up looks like." Jordan touched the glass with his thumb, then handed her a small envelope. She opened it. Inside was a printed email confirmation, a donation, large, to a non-profit that helps single mothers access safe housing and education. He looked at her. "I didn't do enough back then, but I want to now. Not to fix the past, but to make sure fewer women have to carry what you carried." That afternoon, Serene placed Noelle's drawing on the fridge. The original, not the copy. She pinned it with a magnet shaped like a snowflake. Jordan stood beside her. "She sees something we're still figuring out," Serene said. "She sees home," he replied. Serene nodded, then looked at him. "I'm still not promising anything. I'm still not asking." They stood there a while, close, quiet. Then Noelle shouted from her room, "I'm still the boss of Christmas." They both laughed. Later that night, after dinner, after stories, after cocoa, Serene found Jordan packing up his things quietly near the couch. "I didn't say you had to leave," she said. "I know," he replied. "But I also didn't want to overstay." She walked over slowly. No words at first. "Then she'd be sad if you were gone tomorrow. She'd bounce back." "But I might not." Jordan looked at her sharply. Serene exhaled. "You can stay. Not for her. For us. For now." He didn't move. He just whispered, "Okay." The fridge light blinked in the background. Noelle's drawing swayed slightly from the heater's hum. 3 stick figures. A quiet Christmas. And the first step toward something whole. Have you ever had to rebuild trust, not with words, but by simply showing up? Or maybe you've been on the other side, holding things together while someone else figured out how to be present. If you believe real love is proven in the quiet moments, like a drawing on a fridge, a warm breakfast, or staying when it's easier to leave, drop a comment below. Tell us what showing up means to you, and if stories like this speak to your heart. Like, share, subscribe. You're watching Mr. Charles Stories, where healing and love always take their time. The apartment felt different now. Not like a guest was visiting, not like a man was waiting for forgiveness. It felt like someone was slowly being folded back into a life he once shattered. Jordan didn't rush anything. He moved gently through the space, cooking breakfast again, helping with dishes, reading with Noelle. He didn't try to lead. He didn't ask for favors. He simply stayed. And, Serene, noticed everything. The way he used a quieter voice when Noelle asked questions. The way he gave Serene space in the kitchen without hovering. The way he asked if the couch needed refluffing after sleeping on it for 3 nights. She didn't trust it completely, but she felt it. And that was a beginning. That morning, while Noelle played with her dolls, Serene stepped onto the balcony with a coat and 2 mugs of tea. She held one out to Jordan, who followed her silently. The wind was sharp, but the sun had broken through the clouds. The city shimmered below, clean, snow-white, soft. Serene took a sip. You said you wanted to be present, to earn this. Jordan nodded, cupping his mug with both hands. I meant that. Good. Because I meant it too. She turned toward him, expression calm but focused. There are things we haven't talked about, things we need to. I know. I don't want to avoid them just because the snow makes everything look pretty. I don't either. She set her mug down on the balcony table. Tell me the truth. Did you ever plan to tell me about the engagement? Or were you hoping I'd never find out? Jordan looked her straight in the eye. At first, I convinced myself I'd find a way out of it before it got serious. That it was just a formality, a business deal I could kill quietly before it touched my personal life. But it wasn't quiet. No, it got loud fast, and I panicked. I thought if I told you too soon, I'd lose you before I could fix it. But by the time I realized I should have told you anyway, you were already gone. Serene nodded slowly. And after I left, I spiraled, he said honestly. I buried myself in work. I didn't sleep. I lost the merger, then half my board. I shut down for months. She raised an eyebrow. And you still didn't look for me? I tried, he said. I asked mutual friends. I ran a few quiet searches, but it felt wrong, like trying to force something. I didn't deserve access to you. You didn't, Serene agreed. But she deserved access to you. He closed his eyes briefly. I live with that every day. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Serene asked the question that had been waiting since the night she gave birth. Why didn't you fight for me? Jordan's voice was low, raw, because I thought I didn't deserve you. And I was scared I never would. Serene blinked fast. I kept wondering, if you knew you had a daughter, would you have fought then? Yes. She studied him. Would you have been ready? Jordan didn't flinch. No. Inside, Noelle called out, I'm hungry again. Serene smiled faintly. She's always hungry. Like her mom. Serene looked at him. You used to say I was bottomless. You were, he said softly. Still are. Not in appetite. In strength. She didn't answer that. But she didn't disagree. Later that afternoon, after Noelle went to her neighbor's for a playdate, Serene sat Jordan down on the couch. I want to say something clearly, she said. So there's no confusion later. He nodded. You don't get to re-enter this life just because you feel ready. You get to stay if you prove consistent, if you make her feel safe, if you never make her wonder why someone left again. I won't. If I sense even once that you're back to juggling what's convenient over what's right, I'll be gone, he finished for her. No, she said. She will, and you'll never see her again. Jordan didn't look offended or surprised. He just nodded. That's fair. Serene stood, took a deep breath, and looked down at him. Good, because I've raised her with peace, and I'm not trading that for presents if it's not paired with purpose. I understand. That evening, when Noelle returned home, she ran straight into Jordan's arms. He scooped her up, spinning her gently. You came back, she whispered in his ear. I told you, he whispered back. As long as it's okay with your mom, I'm staying. Serene stood in the doorway, arms folded. Noelle giggled. Mama says you cook funny eggs. She's not wrong. And just like that, the day ended not with declarations or drama, but with tea, laughter, and a dinner table full of warmth. It wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. And sometimes, peace is louder than apologies. Serene didn't tell anyone he was back, not out of secrecy, out of self-protection. Jordan's return wasn't something she wanted to explain, not yet. She needed space to decide for herself what he was becoming now, not who he used to be. But in a small town, quiet rarely lasts. And by the third day, it didn't. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. Jordan was on the floor, helping Noelle build a pillow fort. He looked up, hands full of couch cushions. Serene peeked through the peephole and sighed. Of course. She opened the door. On the other side stood Maya, sharp-eyed, blunt, protective, her best friend since college, and the one person who never tiptoed around hard truths. She held a tray of brownies and a raised eyebrow. You forgot to answer my text, Maya said flatly. So I came to see if you'd been abducted. Serene stepped aside. Not abducted. Maya walked in and froze when she saw him. Jordan stood up slowly, hands by his side. Not defensive, not smug. Just present. Maya's eyes narrowed. Well, I'll be... Noelle peeked from behind a blanket wall. Maya, we made a fort. Jordan knelt beside her. Best architect I've ever worked with. Maya didn't smile. She walked straight into the kitchen, set down the tray, and folded her arms. Serene followed her. I was going to call, Serene said. Clearly. Maya lowered her voice. He just showed up? More like, waited outside the story I never told him. Maya stared. And now what? He's part of it again? I don't know yet. Maya wasn't mad, but she was alert. You've built a world here, she said. Safe, steady, quiet. You really think he can live in that? Serene looked toward the living room. Jordan and Noelle were now working on a second floor of their pillow fort. He wasn't overdoing it. He wasn't trying to impress. He was just being there. I don't know, Serene said softly. But I think he wants to, and is wanting enough. Later, Maya sat at the table with Jordan, while Serene put Noelle down for a nap. The air was tense. Jordan spoke first. You don't trust me. Maya didn't blink. You don't deserve my trust. Agreed. But she's my friend, my sister. She's done the hard years, built something from nothing. You break that? I won't. Maya leaned in. You can't. Jordan nodded. I know what she carried alone. I know what I missed. I'm not here to rewrite it. I'm here to respect it. Maya studied him. You're not the same man. I'm not. But you've still got the same face. And that face is tied to pain. Jordan looked down at his cup. I'll carry that reminder for the rest of my life. Serene returned. Maya stood. I brought brownies. I added walnuts. I noticed. Maya kissed Serene on the cheek, then looked at Jordan one more time. I'm watching. After she left, Serene sat across from Jordan. Well, that could have gone worse. I actually like her, he said. She doesn't like you. I wouldn't either, if I were her. Serene laughed. That's fair. Later that evening, Serene got a text. Maya, he's not the boy you left, but he's not the man she needs yet either. Don't rush. Let her lead. Serene stared at it, then looked over at her daughter, half asleep in Jordan's lap, her head against his chest, listening to him read softly from the snowy day. No rush, just presence. For now, that was enough. The morning air was crisp, but the sun shone bright enough to make the sidewalks glisten. For the first time since he arrived, Serene offered to walk with Jordan, just the two of them. Noelle had begged to go to the neighbors for a cookie decorating party, and Serene said yes before Jordan could decline. We need a few things anyway, she said. He didn't ask what. He just grabbed his coat and followed her into the light. Downtown was small, charming, and quiet. Holiday decor still hung from the lampposts. Children's artwork from the local school was taped to store windows. A trio of carolers in red, scarves sang on the corner. And for the first time since his return, Jordan wasn't watching the world from a distance. He was walking in it, with her. Serene carried a shopping list. Jordan carried the basket. Neither said much at first, but there was no tension now, only rhythm. I haven't been in a grocery store like this in years, Jordan said, reaching for a box of sugar. Serene smirked. Let me guess, private chefs and online orders? Worse. Assistants who couldn't cook but could organize a 4 million auction in under an hour. Sounds exhausting. It was. She handed him a small carton of cocoa powder. This place has the best hot chocolate mix. Don't argue. It's true. I trust your judgment. She raised an eyebrow. Now that's new. They walked through the aisles, stopping occasionally when Serene ran into familiar faces. A few neighbors greeted her. Some glanced at Jordan, puzzled, but polite. She didn't offer explanations. She didn't owe them any. At the spice shelf, Jordan picked up a small jar of cinnamon and handed it to her. She frowned. I already have one. He shrugged. Some things are better fresh. She paused, looking at him. Trying to be poetic? No, he said, meeting her gaze. Just honest. Outside, the snow had begun again, light flurries dancing in the air. Jordan carried the bags. Serene tucked her gloved hands into her coat pocket. They walked in silence for a few minutes before she finally said, "You've changed." He looked over. "You think so?" "I don't say things I don't mean." Then, "I'm grateful. But change doesn't erase history." "I don't want it to," he said. That surprised her. Jordan added, "What happened before made me who I am now. I can't pretend it didn't happen, but I can be better because it did." Serene stared ahead, watching the snow swirl. "I didn't want to hate you," she admitted. "I never wanted you to leave. Well, we both failed each other." They stopped at the corner, waiting for the walk signal. Jordan turned to her. "Do you think there's a version of us that still makes sense?" Serene met his eyes. "Ask me when the snow stops." They returned to the apartment, arms full of paper bags, cheeks red from the wind. Noelle greeted them like royalty returning from war. She was wearing a plastic crown, frosting on her nose, and holding a tray of half-decorated cookies. "Best cookies in town," she shouted. Jordan took one, bit into it, and tried not to wince. "Delicious." Serene took a bite, smiled, and whispered, "Cardboard." "She's trying," he whispered back. That evening, the three of them sat together on the couch. Noelle in the middle, feet tucked beneath her, leaning on Jordan's side. Serene watched them while pretending to read, watched how his hand rested gently on Noelle's back, how he didn't try too hard, how he didn't overcompensate. He was just there, the kind of there that builds trust, not just earns it. And for the first time in years, Serene felt something loosen in her chest. Not the past, but the grip it had on her. Dinner was quiet, not uncomfortable, not awkward, just still. Serene had made roasted chicken and rice. Jordan helped slice vegetables. Noelle made everyone wear paper crowns from leftover Christmas crackers. She appointed herself Queen of Christmas and insisted on giving out compliments before anyone could eat. "To Mama," she said proudly, "for making the best food." Serene smiled, nodding, "Thank you, Your Highness." "And to Jordan," Noelle added, "for not burning the eggs this time." Jordan bowed. "A great honor." They all laughed, and for one golden hour the table felt like it belonged to a real family. Not patched together, not forced, but real. After dinner, Serene did the dishes while Jordan tucked Noelle into bed. She watched them from the kitchen, Noelle pulling him by the hand, insisting on one last bedtime story. He followed without complaint. His voice echoed softly from the hallway, reading about talking snowmen and magic sleds. Serene wiped her hands, stared at her reflection in the kitchen window. She didn't expect peace to look like this, but it had arrived anyway. 20 minutes later, Jordan stepped out of the bedroom and closed the door gently behind him. "She's asleep," he said. "She'll be up again by sunrise," Serene replied, pouring hot water into 2 mugs. She handed him one and gestured toward the living room. "Sit." He did. Serene joined him, folding her legs underneath herself, tea in hand. They didn't speak at first. Then she asked, "What was the last gift you bought for someone that wasn't transactional?" Jordan looked down at his cup. "My mother." Right before she passed, Serene waited. A handmade quilt from a local artist. I spent weeks picking the colors. It had her initials stitched into the corner. She cried when she opened it. "Sounds beautiful." She kept it on her bed until the day she died. Serene's tone shifted, lower now. "Do you want to talk about her?" Jordan nodded. She was a cleaner, quiet, strong, didn't like attention, but she made every room feel like home. She passed before Noelle? A year before, she'd have loved Noelle. "I know." He looked at Serene now. "She would have told me to go after you. She would have told me to pick love over empire, and I didn't listen. That's my biggest regret." Serene whispered, "Then don't waste what's left." She stood up and walked to the small night table near the wall, where she kept a few. Candles, an old clock, and a stack of greeting cards Noelle had drawn over the years. From underneath, she pulled out a small wooden box. She brought it over, handed it to Jordan. He opened it slowly. Inside were ultrasound photos, first birthday snapshots, tiny socks, a hospital bracelet with Noelle's name. Jordan's hands shook. "I kept it all," Serene said quietly, "even when I was angry, even when I swore I'd never speak your name again. I couldn't throw it away." Jordan lifted the bracelet with 2 fingers. His voice cracked. "I wasn't there." "No," she said, "you weren't, and nothing will change that." He looked up at her. "But you're here now," she finished. He didn't speak. He just placed the bracelet back, closed the lid gently, and set it down like it was made of glass. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For not closing the door forever." She sat back beside him, closer this time, shoulder to shoulder. They sipped their tea in silence. Then she said, "I'm not sure where this goes. I'm not asking for direction. I'm not ready to start again. I'm not asking for a label." She turned toward him. "Then what are you asking for?" Jordan didn't hesitate. A seat at the table, a place in her memories. And maybe, if time lets me, another page in yours. Serene blinked slowly, heart heavy with something soft. "You don't need to convince me tonight. I won't try to, but I want you to know," she said, "that there's space. Not certainty, not a promise, just space." He smiled faintly. "That's more than I expected." She added, "Don't mess it up." "I won't." She looked at him once more, then stood, whispered, "Good night." He stayed on the couch, holding the wooden box in his lap. And for the first time since the day she left, he felt welcomed. Snow fell heavier that morning. The roads disappeared under thick layers. Cars moved slowly. Children played outside in boots and scarves, tossing snowballs and making crooked angels. Inside Serene's apartment, the air was warm and filled with the smell of cinnamon and fresh toast. Noelle wore her Christmas pajamas all day, alternating between drawing, reading, and occasionally launching herself onto the couch where Jordan was pretending to be a human trampoline. Serene watched from the kitchen. Noelle's laughter was real, free. Jordan was making space for it, quietly, carefully. And Serene wasn't afraid of that anymore. She stepped out to the small stair landing to call Maya, while Jordan and Noelle decorated cookies. The cold bit at her skin, but she needed the air. "Hey," Maya said, picking up after 2 rings. "She's happy. That's all I care about," Maya replied. Serene wrapped her arm around herself. "He's not pushing. And you?" "I'm not running." Maya was quiet, then said, "If it ever shifts, if something feels off, call me. I don't care what time it is." "I know." "And for what it's worth," Maya paused, "you sound lighter." Serene closed her eyes. "I feel lighter." Inside, Jordan's phone buzzed on the end table. He glanced at the screen. The number was familiar, too familiar. He let it ring once, twice, then picked up. He stepped into the hallway, lowering his voice. "This isn't a good time." A male voice answered, sharp and clipped. "You disappeared. For days. Board members are talking. I told everyone I was out of reach for personal reasons. You think walking away from a pending advisory seat looks good? You think this doesn't spook investors? I don't care. You should. We built this thing with your name. You've made enough of a comeback to start again, Jordan. Don't throw it away now." Jordan paused, glancing toward the living room where Noelle was laughing again. Then he said clearly, "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm finally protecting something that matters." "Is that a threat?" "It's a truth." He ended the call and slid the phone into his pocket. When he turned around, Serene was standing at the hallway's edge. She hadn't heard everything, but she'd heard enough. Her voice was cool, controlled. "They're still pulling at you." Jordan didn't lie. "They'll always pull. But I'm not moving." Serene stepped closer. "Are you sure?" "I left all of that behind once," he said. "It cost me everything that mattered. I'm not making that mistake again." "You're walking away again?" she asked. From what? Status? A new role? From distraction? From anything that makes me a ghost in Noelle's life again? She didn't speak for a moment, then said, I'm not asking you to choose. I already did. Serene searched his face. I'm not going to ask you to shrink either, she said. You're not. You're asking me to show up. That's different. She exhaled slowly. Okay. Jordan stepped closer. I used to think presence was power. Now I know it's peace. She smiled faintly. That sounds like something someone's therapist would say. It might be. They both laughed. Later, Jordan sat with Noelle on the floor again. She was drawing another family scene. This time, all the stick figures had tiny hearts on their chests. What's this? He asked. She replied, That's how you know they're safe. Only the ones who stay get a heart. Jordan swallowed hard. And, do I have one? She nodded without looking up. You do now. Serene leaned in the doorway, arms folded. She didn't need to say it. But she knew. He had just passed a test she didn't realize she still needed him to take. That night, after Noelle had fallen asleep, her coloring pages spread across the floor. Like petals, Serene sat on the couch, legs crossed, holding a cup of peppermint tea. Jordan sat across from her, quiet but alert, sensing something in the air. There had been softness lately, peace, but there was still something unfinished between them. Serene looked at him carefully. There's one conversation we skipped, she said. Jordan set his cup down. I know. You never asked me what I felt when I left. He didn't speak, just waited. Serene leaned back. It wasn't rage. He nodded. It was shame. I kept thinking, how did I not see it? How did I love someone who was never mine to begin with? Jordan looked down. You were always mine. I was just too cowardly to live that truth publicly. Serene blinked slowly. It wasn't just the engagement. It was the silence, the omission. You didn't lie about a thing. You lied about a structure, about what my place in your life really was. I thought protecting you from the mess would help. It didn't. I know. She set her cup down. When I left, I didn't cry. I packed in silence. I took the train in silence. I gave birth in silence, because every sound felt like it would shatter me. Jordan's chest tightened. I kept telling myself you'd never understand that kind of loneliness, because men like you always had someone cleaning up after your damage. He nodded. That's true, but I wasn't angry at you, she whispered. I was angry at myself for believing I was the exception. Jordan stood and walked to the window. The day I found the hospital photo, online, in a donor archive, I sat at my desk and didn't move for almost an hour. Serene watched him. I saw your name next to hers. I knew instantly. And it hit me. I had missed her. I had missed you. I'd missed everything that mattered. He turned to face her. I had been building empires while ignoring the only legacy that would have remembered my name without being paid to silence. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was honest. I was scared, he said. I still am. Every day I'm here, I wonder when I'll fail again. When you'll realize it's safer to raise her alone. Serene stood now too. She didn't move closer, didn't step away. You already failed, she said gently. But being afraid of failure won't make you a better father. Being present will. Jordan nodded, breathing deep. And as for me, she added, I don't need a man who promises perfection. I need a man who shows up every day, every mess, every hard conversation. Jordan whispered, I want to be that. She stepped closer now, close enough to smell the faint scent of cocoa and laundry detergent on his shirt, close enough to feel the weight of what hadn't been said melt slowly into what now could be said. I can't go back, Serene said. I'm not the girl you met at the fundraiser. I wouldn't want you to be, Jordan replied. You lost her. I know, but this version of me, this woman who survived it, if you're lucky, maybe she'll let you stay. Jordan's eyes didn't leave hers. I'd stay forever, if she'd let me. She didn't kiss him, didn't touch him, didn't make any promises. But she looked at him, not as the man who left, or the one who returned, but as the one who remained when staying mattered. And that meant more than any vow. Snow fell thick that morning, not the shy flurries of early December, but the quiet, full kind that softened everything it touched. Noelle stood by the window in her oversized socks, pressing her hands against the cold glass. "She's beautiful," Jordan said, watching her from behind. Serene stood beside him, holding a warm mug. "She is." That Christmas Eve felt different, not because of the tree, decorated with mismatched ornaments Noelle had picked, or the cinnamon rolls baking in the oven, but because for once they weren't pretending, they weren't tiptoeing, they were a family, fragile, new but together. Later that afternoon, Jordan pulled a small velvet box from under the tree. It wasn't for Serene. It wasn't jewelry. It was smaller than a ring box, but heavier than it looked. He handed it to Noelle, kneeling down in front of her. "I know Santa's not the only one who gives gifts," he said. Noelle looked at the box, her brows furrowed. "It's not a toy? Open it." Serene smiled. Inside the box was a custom-made gold-plated locket. On one side, a tiny engraving, "Noelle, loved before you knew." Inside, 2 small photos, one of Serene holding her at the hospital, and another, new, taken just last week, of Jordan reading her a bedtime story. Noelle looked up, silent, then back at the photos. You put me in a necklace." Jordan laughed softly. "Yes, and I want you to keep it. So when you miss me, or when I make a mistake, you remember how much I wanted to get it right." She threw her arms around his neck. "Does this mean I get to keep you?" Jordan's eyes watered. "If you want me, yes." Serene turned away to blink back tears. They had dinner with quiet music, laughter, and no distractions. No corporate calls, no assistant checking in, no tension. After dessert, Noelle was already yawning. Serene took her upstairs while Jordan cleared the dishes. When she came down, the lights had dimmed. Only the tree lights glowed. Jordan was holding something else, another box. He handed it to Serene this time. Inside, a set of hand-painted keys. She raised a brow. "What's this?" He looked at her carefully. "It's not for a house." She waited. "It's for a studio, upstairs. You said you stopped painting after everything happened. I bought you a space. It's quiet, private, yours." Serene stared at the keys. "Because the woman who raised my daughter with grit and grace deserves to have her own room, not just space in someone else's." She didn't speak for a while, then finally whispered, "You remembered." "I never forgot." She reached out, hand brushing his, and said, "Then maybe I won't forget this either." Morning arrived with slow light. Noelle woke first, her little feet pattering through the hallway before she ran back yelling, "Mom, Dad, Santa came!" Jordan sat up with a grin. "He always comes to kids who forgive people." Serene raised a brow. "And to billionaires who try again." He leaned down, kissed her forehead. "Especially them." The living room sparkled, lit by tree lights and Noelle's excitement. She tore into a box wrapped with blue foil, pulling out sketchbooks, colored pencils, and a beginner's watercolor set. "For my little artist," Jordan said, holding out a framed drawing she'd made weeks ago. She grabbed it, proud. "It's us. Before we became real again." Jordan smiled. "Then, it's priceless." Serene sat quietly on the couch, sipping tea and watching them both. Everything she'd gone through, raising Noelle alone, navigating hurt, refusing to beg, led to this moment. Not wealth, not grand apologies, but peace. Peace wrapped in flannel pajamas and cinnamon breath. Jordan handed Serene one final envelope. She hesitated. "I already cried last night," she warned. "This one's practical," he teased. Inside, she found signed legal documents. His lawyer's letterhead, her name beside his on 2 new ventures, joint non-profit initiatives focused on maternal support and single-parent education access. She looked up, stunned. "You're giving me ownership." "I'm giving you respect, Serene. You didn't break when I disappeared. You built." he added softly. And I want Noel to see what partnership looks like, not showmanship. She didn't say anything at first. Then she leaned into him and whispered, "Merry Christmas, Jordan." He looked at her. "Are we back?" She nodded, small and slow. "We're not rushing, but we're home." Outside, snow fell again. Not hard, not heavy, just enough to dust the world clean. Inside, a family sat around a tree, no longer broken, no longer hiding, no longer waiting for a perfect day to start over. They had one already. The week after Christmas moved slow. Snow still blanketed the streets, muffling the sounds of traffic. The city felt gentler, as though even its noise was catching its breath. In their small kitchen, Serene flipped pancakes while Noel built Lego towers on the rug. Jordan cleaned out the old closet they used to ignore, the one with tax boxes, broken headphones, and forgotten ties. The house was fuller now, not just with people, but with purpose. They had fallen into a rhythm. Jordan didn't bring grand gestures anymore. He brought consistency, school drop-offs, grocery runs, standing beside Serene while she emailed donors, listening instead of defending. Serene had stopped waiting for him to say the right things. Instead, she watched what he did with his second chance. Their love wasn't loud. It was quietly committed. One afternoon, Serene stood at the window, watching Noel play in the snow-covered courtyard with another little girl from the building. Jordan walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "Remember when I said I wanted everything to be perfect?" She nodded. "I was wrong," he whispered into her hair. "I needed it to be real." They spent New Year's Eve inside. Noel went to bed early, worn out from hot chocolate and fairy lights. Serene and Jordan sat on the floor beside the couch. No champagne, no party music, just candlelight and a record player spinning quietly. Jordan placed something between them. A box. Small. Velvet. Serene blinked. "Jordan, I'm not asking to rush anything," he said, holding her gaze. "But I want to ask, not assume. I want you to know this isn't a comeback stunt. I want to rebuild our marriage, with your pace, your terms. All in." He opened the box. A new ring. Simple. Elegant. No diamond. Inside, engraved on the gold band, were 5 words. "You stayed. Now I stay." Serene looked at him for a long time. Then she took the box, closed it, and set it aside gently. She leaned forward, pressed her forehead to his, and whispered, "We'll walk into this, together. But we don't need symbols tonight. You're here, I'm here. That's enough." He nodded, eyes stinging. She smiled. "Ask again someday." "I want Noel to say yes too." At midnight, fireworks cracked in the sky. Jordan held Serene's hand while they stood on the balcony in thick coats and fuzzy socks. Noel peeked from behind the glass door and shouted, "I want to see too!" He scooped her up in one arm and kissed her cheek. "There," Serene whispered. A full circle. The year had turned. But they hadn't needed a countdown to begin again. They had each other, whole, scarred, healed, present. Sunlight streamed into the kitchen as Noel scrambled eggs in her tiny apron. She'd insisted on making breakfast. Sort of. Jordan watched her from the hallway, smiling at the way she mimicked Serene's movements with exaggerated flair. "I'm the chef today," she declared, placing a plate of toast, burnt on one side, on the table. Serene kissed her forehead. "Best toast I've ever had." Jordan stepped outside for a moment. The snow had mostly melted, leaving patches of soft slush. He glanced at the building across the street, one they'd once considered moving into when things were tense. He realized now they didn't need a bigger house. They needed a smaller gap. Back inside, Serene stood at the counter holding her planner. She was looking at the next year, not with dread, with quiet hope. Jordan approached and tapped a small note onto the corner of her page. Tuesday, family walk. Friday, art with Noel. Saturday, no emails, just you. She looked at him. "You planning to schedule love now?" He shrugged, playful, trying to prioritize it. She leaned into him. That's the first thing you've scheduled in years that I want to keep. Later that morning, the three of them bundled up and took a walk around the block. Neighbors greeted them with warmth. The woman from apartment 2C handed Noelle a tiny scarf for her teddy bear. Mr. Hart from the lobby gave Jordan a respectful nod. Jordan felt something shift in his chest. He hadn't just come home to a house. He'd come home to a life. They reached the corner bench where Serene used to sit alone with Noelle when Jordan worked late or disappeared into hotel meetings. Serene stopped and sat. Noelle climbed up beside her, cradling her bear in the gifted scarf. Jordan stood still, then slowly sat beside them. They didn't speak for a while. The silence wasn't awkward. It was healing. Finally, Jordan said softly, "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we never made it back here?" Serene nodded. "Sometimes. Do you regret coming back?" She looked at him. "No, but I would have been okay either way. And that's how I knew I was ready. I didn't need you to be okay. I chose you." Jordan swallowed hard. "That's the kind of love I don't deserve." "No," she said. "It's the kind of love you earn." Noelle giggled, pulling both their hands together. "Let's go. I want to walk like a snow princess." They rose and walked hand in hand down the path. Serene on one side, Jordan on the other. And between them, their quiet, bright miracle, laughing, twirling, skipping forward into a future neither of them had imagined. But both had chosen. Final moral close. Love isn't proven by grand returns. It's measured by how you stay after everything falls apart. Real healing isn't a promise. It's a presence. And the strongest people, they don't run, they walk back and stay. If you've ever had to choose peace over pain, if you've ever rebuilt what was broken, not for show but for love, then this story was for you. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, sometimes the quietest endings are the ones that change everything.